Commissioner Ed Rothstein. It's Thursday, April 29th at 9:01 a.m. I apologize for the minute delay. We'll have a relatively short open session this morning, and then this afternoon we will come back at 2 p.m. having a joint session with our delegation to talk about some of the issues that we have ongoing in the county and also get some of the feedback that they've received through their session. As we always do, let's first stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Muted.
A moment of silence and think about still those that are still challenged going through this pandemic. And just one that I know of is a Carroll County policeman that he's doing better now, but he was in the hospital. And just always, it's still there with us. So let's stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah, whoever thinks this is a way, it ain't. We're moving in the direction, but we'll get there. Okay, let's start with Priority Carol. I think I have an echo in here somehow.
You just have such a commanding voice.
Is that what it is? It's echo chamber. Okay, let's is Bonnie, are you on?
Let me run through the callers. Maybe she called in.
Okay, well, as we are waiting on that, let's us go through our priority, Carol. Commissioner Boucher.
Good morning. Thank you, President Rothstein. I'd like to start out by thanking our Department of Public Works. I contacted Deputy Director Doug Brand last week about a constituent called that their culverts and drain system at the end of Brace Eagle and White Rock was filled with debris and growth, and it feeds into Piney Run Park. Within one day, they had out a crew who unclogged the drain, and the following day, they cleared out all the vegetation and growth. And I want to express my sincere appreciation to the individuals who are involved in that. Mr. Swin, do we have photos of the crew that was out there? If you could bring those up, I want to list their names. The crew foreman was Garland Miller, with Richard Crouch, equipment operator, Gary Jones, truck driver, James Hubble, truck driver, Jay Cole, truck driver. And special thanks goes out to not only Deputy Director Brown, but Bureau Chief Jim Cook and Kathy Virch for making this happen. I'm so impressed with how fast they get on top of things for us to service their constituents. Also want to announce new employees for the county and welcome them aboard. Ashley Bentley with Accounting in the Controller's Office, Leslie Flanagan, Customer Engagement Specialist for Burke, Matthew Klingen, Deputy First Class for the Sheriff's Office, and Mary Lewis, Court Assignment Officer for the Circuit Court. Welcome aboard as county employees. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Frazier.
We never saw an after picture. I saw the before picture. I was looking for an after picture.
There's got to be an after picture somewhere.
That Swan's probably hiding it somewhere.
Because I was looking forward to seeing that picture. I really don't have too much. Oh, okay. Okay. Wow, that really looks good. Really looks good. Thank you,
looks a little better.
It does.
Okay.
Really don't have too much except you don't have to wear a mask outside anymore in Maryland. That's tremendous. We're moving in the right direction. And we're moving there because of the vaccines. Get vaccinated if you're not. We have a large, I think Maryland, or I know Carroll County is leading the rest of the state in the number of vaccines. Let's keep it moving that way. I love to get back to normal as quickly as possible, but we are moving in the right direction. No mask needed outside. And there's, I believe, don't quote me on this, if you're outdoor dining, there's no limit on how many people can be outdoor dining. So those are two really big steps, and I think they'll help out a lot. I really do. That's all I have.
Okay. Commissioner Weaver.
Yes, I agree with Commissioner Frazier. I can't believe I said that.
You ever get tired of saying that, Commissioner?
Yeah, first for everything. Anyway, the masks for outdoors are, I guess, removed. But here again, be careful. Don't fall back into complacency that this has gone away. And I think Commissioner Rothstein, you mentioned India on Tuesday, and it can happen to us. So please take some time and think through what you're doing. Don't just jump into it. It's all over and that's it. So it could be all over if not. The other thing I just want to mention, we do have our municipal elections coming up, starting very shortly. And if you get out and vote, please look at your candidates, look who's going to serve your community you think best, and just get out and vote. I don't care, who you vote for is personal privilege there. It's your opinions to do what you want, but just get out and vote. Thank you.
Okay, and staying on the same theme, with the municipalities, I think the first one is next week with Sykesville on Tuesday. But also, we will get the details and make sure that they're on our page on what the governor has shared in his executive orders, the 3 regarding outdoor dining and outdoor gatherings and not wearing the masks. He also shared, as he should as a leader, that we're not out of this yet. And we're not. And, still getting very tired of people hiding behind keyboards and social media and prophesizing of why and why not things are happening. What we need to do is just continue to move forward, wear the mask, keep social distancing, wash our hands, get vaccinated. That's what's going to keep us in the right direction to eradicate this virus. Or at least get it to a point where we are not going to be getting as sick as we've been. There's still a lot of Carroll Countyans that are getting sick, and it's very frustrating when I see this, this attitude of hiding behind keyboards and able to say what they want. If you want to say it, then say it and let people know. So
I think you made a great point. Eradication compared to control. I'm not sure we can eradicate this, but we can control it.
Yeah.
And we have to use what's in our power. So good point.
Thank you. Okay. Chris, what were you showing up there?
That was the release we put out yesterday regarding the information that Governor Hogan put out at 4 o'clock yesterday.
Thank you, sir. Do we have Bonnie on now?
Open up these callers real quick to see if any one of them is her. I also emailed her. Hold on. We have 4 callers on the line. Can you identify yourselves, please?
My name is John King.
Okay. We're going to mute our callers until public comment. Thank you.
Okay. With all that said, let's move on to item 1. Zoning text amendment for community solar energy generating system. Request to go to public hearing. Mr. Burke, would you like to start this?
This is a public hearing to consider some proposed amendments to the community solar generating systems. Bonnie is here. Do you want to?
No, let's continue with you and then we'll get back to Bonnie.
The purpose of this is to solicit public comment on a proposed amendment to our zoning ordinance concerning community solar energy systems. The notice of today's hearing was advertised in the Carroll County Times on April 15th, 2021 and April 22nd, 2021. With us are Brenda Denny from the Bureau of Development Review, Chris Hine, and they're here to give you a little background as to the proposed amendments.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. Thank you. So before we get started, just wanted to express thanks to Brenda and the rest of the staff who've been working on this to get us to the point where we are. It's been a lot of work. Also, a lot of thanks to the Planning and Zoning Commission who listened to and contributed to these changes and proposed changes, and also solicited a lot of input from the farming community as well as the solar industry. So I think we're at a great place with the documentation we've put together, and I'm looking forward to hearing if there are any further public comments about it. I'm going to turn things over to Brenda and have her lay the groundwork for the discussion, but thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brenda Denny, Special Projects Coordinator for Land and Resource Management. I wanted to give you a brief history, process, and overview of the proposal, primarily for the public's sake, since I know you are familiar with it. In terms of history, in 2015, the Community Solar Pilot Program was adopted by the state. As it currently stands, this pilot program ends in 2024, at which time no additional community solar facilities can apply to the Public Service Commission. In 2018, per your request, the Environmental Advisory Council prepared a report which provided options for the commissioners to address access to community solar in Carroll County. And subsequently to that, 2019, the Environmental Advisory Council prepared a public outreach brochure. So naturally, in spring of 2020, the commissioners directed staff to develop a proposal to amend the zoning to allow community solar on remaining portions in the agricultural district. In September, the staff brought that proposal to you and briefed the board, and the board gave us direction to move forward in getting feedback from the public and from certain community groups. And also in September, we created a web page which provided all of the information in terms of the proposed concepts, a map. I mean, all of the information that we had available, we put out on the web page so it would be available. And we sent out a press release and solicited feedback. We also got feedback from the Environmental Advisory Council, as well as several local agricultural groups, and during the fall also from solar developers and the public. In December, we came back to the board and briefed you on the feedback from the public and from those groups, and had a revision to the proposal, and the board directed us to move forward to draft an amendment and review that with the Planning Commission and get their recommendation. So from January to March, we met with the Planning Commission 5 times and reviewed and discussed with them the proposal. And on March 16th, they made a recommendation to the board to adopt the amendments. On March 25th, we briefed the board on the Planning Commission recommendation, and the board directed us to move forward to public hearing. So here we are today. The proposal at public hearing briefly is that the definition of community solar would be that which is in the Maryland Public Utilities Code as of July 1st, 2020. Community solar facilities would be a principal permitted use on remaining portions of 5 acres or greater in the agricultural zoning district for maximum size of 20 acres and only on existing remaining portions as of July 1st, 2020. An easement would be required, which extinguishes any additional residential and non-agricultural development on the land not set aside for solar development. That should be granted to the county upon installation of the solar facility. A site plan would be required to be submitted to the Planning Commission and get their approval. Agricultural co-location requires that the facility either has a designation from Maryland Department of Natural Resources for the solar generation facilities pollinator friendly designation, or be planted, managed, and maintained for grazing of farm animals, apiaries, or crops. A landscape buffer would be required that would provide year-round screening for residential uses on contiguous properties and public rights-of-way. The maximum height would be 15 feet above existing grade, and the minimum setback would be 40 feet from a property line and adjoining property lines. And decommissioning plan would be required, which includes a public works agreement and a bond to ensure proper decommissioning and funding for removal. That is my overview of history, process, and proposal.
Okay, are there any questions or comments?
Well, I have one. I wanted to, under electrical connections, I guess item 7, cannot use eminent domain to cross property lines without just compensation. And this is when it happened in Somerset County with the same type thing. I want to make sure we don't have that happen in Carroll County. So can we get that added, Brenda?
I talked to Jim Allman, attorney's office, about that. And since this is not, these are projects that aren't public projects, they would be private. It would be on the solar developer to work out an agreement with a neighboring property owner if that was needed. The private solar developer wouldn't be able to use eminent domain themselves in order to make a crossing on somebody else's property.
I want to make sure it can't go, I just want to make sure it's in the ordinance so it can't be used against our property owners here in Carroll.
But this ordinance is only for private projects, not for public projects.
Well,
Is that-
shouldn't be used either way without
Yeah, but if it's a citizen is putting on their property, they can't use eminent domain. Only the government can do that. And we're not in solar.
Right.
So we could use eminent domain. Couldn't we get them?
We would have to justify it as a public use, and if you're not benefiting the public. By,
Community solar, that would be a public.
we can add it to the ordinance if that.
I mean, I just want to make sure. Property owners.
What do you think, Mr. Burke?
That's fine if it moves things along. It's merely a statement of fact
Right.
in there.
Right, we don't want this to take advantage of any property owners. That's not the intent.
Okay. And it doesn't change the context of what we're doing. Okay.
Yeah, the rest of it, fine.
Any other comments on what was shared and what has been read? Lined in, lined out. Okay. Next step, Mr. Burke.
Next step is to hear from any interested members of the public. Mr. Swaim, do we have any callers?
We have 4 callers and unmute them one at a time.
And we request the callers limit their comments to 3 minutes.
And share your name and where you're calling from.
Caller 1, you've been unmuted. Please give us your name.
My name is John King. My farm is on 3084 Brook Road, just outside of Tawnytown. The reason that I'm calling in is that we're actually very interested in hosting a solar project on our farm. For us, it would be a perfect fit. And I had written a letter to the zoning commission earlier on that was a little more detailed. Basically, where our project would be, you couldn't see it from the road. My neighbors that share our lane wouldn't be able to see it. Nobody would be able to see it, basically, except their deer hunters in the fall. And the only thing that's a problem is that as your proposal is written, our farm is not on the pre-approved property parcels, and so basically, I'm just asking for our 10 or 12 acres, whatever it would be, to be added on to the total acreage, and I would certainly assume that out of the pre-approved parcels, not all of them are going to want to host solar projects anyway. That's just not how things work. I'd be happy to take any questions if you have any for me.
Okay, is there any comments that we want to make or can we make? Should we make, Tim?
You can ask him a question. Generally, it's just for public comment, but.
No? Okay. Thank you.
That's pretty much all I have then. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Caller number 3, you've been unmuted. Please give us your name, address, and you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Hi, this is Jake Springer, 3146 16th Street in DC. I'm with the company Nexamp. We are a developer and long-term owner and operator of community solar projects in Maryland. Here today, I'm pleased to see the board considering the zoning text amendment to allow for community solar in Carroll County. I'm grateful for the opportunity to provide feedback as well. We feel strongly that community solar is a great opportunity for the county. It can bring a lot of value to the communities here. And by opening this historic community solar, the board can generate new tax revenue without new demand for services, opportunity for local jobs, and provide a new option for Carroll County residents to save money on their electricity bills through energy that's generated locally. Our principal concern, with the ZTA currently is the limitation of community solar specifically to remaining portions within the agricultural zone, as the previous caller alluded to. And while I can appreciate the county's interest in these specific parcels and the desire, to start small with this proposal, we believe the county should allow an additional, albeit limited, number of acres that can be used to host community solar, not on remainders, to take account of folks like the previous caller who would like to be able to host community solar, but don't already have, pre-approval through this remainder parcel by hosting a remainder parcel. And realistically, I think many of these parcels will not be suitable for solar after full analysis is done due to landowner willingness, issues with interconnecting to the electric grid, protected areas like wetlands or other issues. And if that is the case, the board, is unlikely to realize the benefits of community solar despite, all of the effort that's gone into this ETA so far. So an additional number of limited acres will give other interested landowners, not just those who've already used their development rights, an opportunity to pursue community solar. We've spoken to a number of such landowners in the county who would be shut out from the current approach. And I think the board can do this by allowing for community solar outside of the remainders, subject to the same standards as currently proposed, but also subject to a strict total acreage cap. This will allow the board to test, the use of remainders against a different approach as well. And I think, it's important that keep in mind that community solar can provide a lot of value to protecting agricultural land in the county, and it can, serve as a revenue stream that allows many landowners to keep, the nature of the land intact and resist more permanent development pressure. And I think I'd also point out that the pilot program for community solar only has a couple of years left, as we talked about at the top of the hearing. And so I think that there's a short window here for the county to fully take advantage of this opportunity. So I would urge the board to consider, a limited number of additional acres on top of the remainders to consider. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, next.
Next caller, you'll have 3 minutes. Please give us your name and address.
Hi, my name is Leslie Elder. I'm with the Coalition for Community Solar Access. I'm at 1118 Dickinson Street in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It's really great when the callers before you make your life very easy, but I'll just give you a couple of quick numbers. So currently 75% of American households and businesses can't access the benefits of solar because of financial or physical barriers to entry. And community solar really is the answer to that. So anybody who pays an electric bill can have access to the benefits of solar, and specifically the cost savings, by receiving a subscription. So through that subscription with a community solar provider, the customers will receive a credit on their bill and generate savings from using that solar. Additionally, community solar can bring between $1.5 million and $3.2 million in economic benefits to the county over the next 3 years of the pilot program. I do want to echo everything that the two previous callers said, and just add a couple of other additions for the commissioners to consider. So in addition to looking at some additional land parcels to compare to, because the pilot program is only a couple years left, specifically we're in the 4th year of a 7-year pilot program, we would really encourage Carroll County to take a quick look at the provisions that you put into the ZTA. And if you would like to expand upon that program, you're going to have to take advantage of that really quickly because of the development cycle of community solar. So it takes about 2 years to develop after a solar site is secured. So in order for Carroll County to be able to expand this and get the capacity that they would need for their residents, the latest that you would be able to do this is the end of next year or Q1 of 2023 at the absolute latest. So we would really encourage you to do an evaluation of the ZTA to see if you would like to take further examination of that. Lastly, CCSA really requests clarification on the permanent easements to be granted to the county on the portion of the remaining portion not set aside for the development. It is our understanding that standard practice would dictate that the easements would be removed upon solar decommissioning. So we're really seeking clarification on this, what the county's expectation is, and the roles and responsibilities of all the interested parties. Other than that, those would be our two things. It has been a real pleasure working with the Zoning and Planning Commission. It's been impressive on how much time they've spent on digging into a very complicated process and really learning the development. And I look forward to other counties following their model. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And I also agree on the professionalism of the Planning and Zoning Commission and the work that they've been doing to get us to where we are today. The comment that Commissioner Weaver, you want to add regarding easements, is that, associated with what the last comment was?
No, mine was with the power lines to go across other property lines.
Okay.
That didn't have anything to do with Department of East.
Yep. Okay. Next caller, please.
That's it.
That's it. Do we have no more callers?
No more callers.
Okay. Any more comments?
Yeah, I would say, and the call has prompted these comments, but I've always said I think this is I'm hopefully a first step in community solar. We'll see how it works. Let's let this play out for a year, and we can reevaluate it next year about this time. We will still have time if we wanted to put it on other ag property, if it went that way, or other properties. Then we have time to look at it at that time and get it done before this pilot project runs out with the state. So I would say, for right now, in my opinion, this is the way to go. Reevaluate in a year and see if we want to add more or keep it this way.
Okay.
Mr. President, at this point, it's appropriate to close the public hearing. Traditionally, the commissioners leave the record open for an additional 10 days for written comments.
That I move the Board of Commissioners close public hearing, leave the record open for 10 days.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and second. Is there any further discussion we have? Hearing, seeing none, appreciate all the work. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it is 4-0, which reminds me also that Commissioner Wance is not with us today, and it is just the four of us in attendance for this morning and this afternoon. Okay, what I'd like to do is take a step back, and I believe we have Bonnie Staub on the phone. For Priority Carroll, one of the things I want to highlight is what we're doing here in Carroll County for our small businesses, and another, again, push towards normalcy for our communities and our main streets in Carroll County. So if I can, Bonnie, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me this time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and I do apologize. I'm a little challenged with this, and I appreciate your patience this morning with me.
Absolutely no apologies, and look forward to seeing and hearing what we have in front of us.
Okay, yeah, I really appreciate your time this morning to let me share. I'm doing 4 more videos like I had done in the past, and the purpose of these videos is to promote and get our small businesses out there so that people know small businesses are open, and I'm also promoting our main streets in Carroll County. So I'd like to share those videos with you now. We went all over the county to do these, and I thought the gentleman did a great job with them.
Where's the clip of you walking into that store we shot?
I know.
That was closed.
Stop, shop, and stroll. Are you looking for someplace to go, something to find, or something to do? You can stop, shop, and stroll on Main Street in Carroll County. Visit one of the main streets in Carroll County to stop, shop, and stroll. Are you looking for someplace to go, something to find, or something to do? You can stop, shop, and stroll on Main Street in Carroll County.
I went to the business.
Visit one of the main streets in Carroll County to stop, shop, and stroll. Are you looking for someplace to go, something to find, or something to do? You can stop, shop, and stroll on Main Street in Carroll County. Visit one of the main streets in Carroll County to stop, shop, and stroll.
And commissioners, these 4 videos are going to be starting on Monday, and they will be airing on MPT, Comcast, and Fox 45. They're getting a lot of different programs on Comcast. I think they're going to be shown like over 1,300 times on 31 different programs, and they're going to be doing it probably for a month. I think Fox is only for 2 weeks. But this is all part of a grant that we received from the state of Maryland to help promote small businesses and main streets. So we were very pleased to get this grant of $27,831. And I think it's a good way to promote the county with the videos. And I also wanted to share, we're getting ready to do a new 2021 visitor's guide, which should be out in about 2 weeks.
Sounds great. Now that I'm hungry and thirsty.
Yeah, this is perfect timing on this.
Right.
Now, as we come out, hopefully we're coming out of this pandemic, we're looking at, Main Street and making up some of the ground I think they've lost, and give people an idea to get out, shop, stop, stop, shop, and stroll. I mean, that's great job, Bonnie.
Thank you very much.
Any other comments?
Very nice job. What was the theme again? I'm just kidding. Very nice job.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And the cupcakes look delicious. I need to get some of those things.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Chris, is have them available this afternoon. I mean, they're quick snippets
play this back to you.
For
we pick one
for a delegation. I think would be a nice showing of how we're using Maryland money.
Yep. Great idea.
Okay, thank you, Bonnie, and I appreciate the flexibility in getting you in here.
Thank you.
Share this. Great job. You and
have a great day.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, now let's talk about Hashua wetlands and boardwalk renovations and the use of a grant. And we have Mr. Deggets.
Good morning, commissioners. We're here to request your permission to apply for a recreational trails program grant. This is through the Maryland Department of Transportation and State Highway Administration. And what we're looking to use these funds for are some renovations to the boardwalk at the Hashua Environmental Center. We have a wetlands area. It's signed as Lake Hashua, but we all know there's no lakes within the state of Maryland. This is a large pond and wetlands area. And the boardwalk, the majority of it is wood, and a lot of it has become warped and in some cases rotted and is in definite need of some attention. So this is typically a project that we would try to address using our park restoration funds. However, this is an eligible project for a recreational trails program grant. This grant would cover 80% of the costs of the program, of the project, and the 20% remaining a required 20% match can be made up of in-kind services or local funding. We'll be having the Hashua environmental staff under the leadership of Brad Rogers complete the work on this, so it's likely that we will meet that match just with the labor component. But any funding that is required for it, we will use currently budgeted park restoration funds for that. The total project is $57,000. And this is for renovations to the boardwalk and also some improved educational signage. This area is very heavily used by the public as well as outdoor schools. So we're asking your permission today to apply for the grant and if awarded to accept the grant. We'll be happy to answer any questions you all may have.
Any questions or comments?
No, this makes sense. It's a good one.
Yeah, I do like it, but on here it says you're going to use track stacking Is it just looking at Trex, or are you looking at any composite decking, or you already signed a deal for this?
Any composite decking.
Okay.
It will last a lot longer. We won't have some of the issues that we've had with the warping wood, and that should reduce the maintenance moving forward.
Right. Okay.
Because Trex is a brand, right?
Yeah, Trex is the brand name. That's why I asked if any composite would be okay. And I don't know what the requirements are for this, you know, but if you had something else that might meet the requirements and be less expensive or something, maybe look at that, which is why I brought that up. But I should have known you already had it under control, Jeff.
I'll move the Board of County Commissioners grant permission to the Department of Recreation and Parks to apply for it, and if awarded, accept a recreational trails program grant in the amount of $57,000 from MDOT State Highway to support High Shore wetlands boardwalk renovations.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion in a couple seconds. Anything else want to be said? Seeing here none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we got 4-0. Jeff, you're 1 for 1. Keep it up. Gillis Falls.
All right, I see we have Maureen on here as well, so I'll let her start and then I'll jump in.
Okay.
Thanks, Jeff. Yes, Commissioners, we are here this morning to request your approval to award the contract for the planning, surveying, and final engineering and permitting services for the Gillis Falls Trail Park to Pannoni Associates in the amount of $97,325. This amount is within the adopted budget and no additional funds should be necessary. And for questions on the project, I'll turn it back over to Jeff.
Thank you, Maureen. This is the next step in the design process, and actually the last step in the design process for this project. This is approximately a 1 mile long trail in the Gillis Falls area. It would run from Grimville Road up to Gillis Falls Road at Saltbox Park. We've had a lot of work that had been done in previous years. However, there's been some changes with permitting regulations. We've also changed some of the areas where we have stream crossings and the number of bridges, which has necessitated this additional design work to be done. This will actually get us ready to go to construction when this is completed. This project also is a past recipient of a Recreational Trails Program grant. We received a $300,000 grant for this last year. So we're asking your permission to move forward with this contract, get the design completed, which would then allow us to move towards construction.
Director Daggett, I want to thank you for the tour you gave me hiking around down there. It's absolutely beautiful in that valley, and this is going to be a tremendous project. And I also appreciate you and staff for going out and finding this grant money to make this happen. With that, I move the Board of Commissioners award the contract for final engineering permitting services for the Gillis Falls Trail Park to Pannoni Associates in the amount of $97,325.
Okay, I got a motion second. Any further discussion on this? Seeing here none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maureen, and thank you very much, Jeff. Do we have Ed
Thank you very much. 2 for 2 today. I appreciate that.
No sign
Don't get cocky on this now. Okay, we don't have Ed on. We're expecting him by the calendar at 10:20, so we have time. So let's move on if we can.
Sure.
For a bid approval on environmental compliance and engineering survey. We have Maureen, you're there, Justin and Thad. There's Justin, there's Thad. Have at it.
Okay. Again, Commissioners, we are requesting your approval to use term contractor Carroll Land Services for the survey and design of the parking lot at the Agricultural Center. The work includes, but is not limited to, the asphalt paving, stormwater management design. The cost of $32,240 will cover all the phases of this project. Again, this amount is within the project, the adopted budget. No additional funds will be necessary. And I'll turn it over to Justin and Thad for any questions you have about the project.
Thanks, Maureen. Good morning, Commissioners. We're here today for the decision to award CLSI the contract for design and stormwater management for the parking lot at the Carroll County Ag Center. Carroll County Ag Center currently has approximately 3 acres of millings that's been constructed and expanded over the years. The millings area is consistently eroding, washing millings across the access road, which is ending up, which is ending up in the stormwater management pond for the Farm Museum. CLSI will prepare an asphalt paving stormwater management plan design for Carroll County facilities with the guidance of Bureau of Resource Management to remediate this issue. The design will consist of grass wells and small surface sand filters in the parking lot area. What questions may you have for us, commissioners?
Justin, we were all in the same meeting on that. Was that just a concept plan you presented at the Ag Center?
Correct.
Okay, so this is the engineering for it. All right.
This is going to be the engineering for that plan. That is correct.
This is a good project. Stop the erosion into the pond down there, and it needs to go.
How long do you think this design phase will last, and when do you think the actual construction will begin?
Well, the design phase, and when CSI Resource Management, they'll probably get back to us, Commissioner. I'm going to say within a month and a half of the design, I would say that would be a safe bet. And then as far as preparing, getting this out to bid, this is in our FY22 budget. So once we get the design back, Commissioners, we're ready to hit the ground running, get this thing fixed up, resolved, and move on.
That's great. That's great.
I will say, as someone who rides a motorcycle out there a lot to the Ag Center, this is badly needed because that's pretty rough out there.
I move the Board of County Commissioners award the contract for surveying design for the Agriculture Center parking lot to CLSI in the amount of $32,240.
Second.
Okay, motion in a couple seconds. Any further conversation, discussion on this? Seeing, hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are still waiting. I'd like to give Mr. Singer some time to get on board and give us an update because it's been a couple weeks. But with that said, what we can go to, is there any public comments? Anybody on the?
I have no callers on at this point.
No callers.
See, now would be a good day to have a caller.
Where are they?
Anything for open admin? I'd like to share one thing. We received an email from a community member regarding asking the question, when will we be open during open session? And the intent is to get us there in early June. We are still on appointments only inside the building, but you don't physically have to be here to be heard and to be listened to. Phone calls, emails, we're always available. You know, before all this, we wouldn't have a whole lot of folks in the room anyway. So for some reason, people think that they have to now be in the room. It's kind of silly in that sense. And I think we have shown ourselves to be very responsive with emails and with phone calls. So those that are waiting to sit in the room during open session, it's still going to be some time, but that should not deter you from participating in our open sessions. We continue to be, as Commissioner Wance reminds us, transparent in the activities we do during open sessions. So I just want to throw that out there. Anything else for open?
I have one item that I guess I'm just becoming more and more aware of it over the last 7 years, the use in common driveways that we use in housing developments in Carroll County. It's a good idea when they're putting the house in. X amount of years later, when they come down to maintenance of it, the neighbors fall out no matter what the agreement is. How can we, and I'd like to bring it up for discussion here and get it to planning and zoning. I would love to see the elimination of use in common driveways. Now, it can't always happen. I understand that. But I think we need to try to bring them down, or an agreement in somehow that these things do not create this rift in the community years later.
Well,
They're always a problem.
I think maybe we could put some language in, require some language to be put in for us a use in common driveway that explicitly spells out what has to be done for maintenance and for when it comes time for being repaved. And maybe even another place I lived was like a court, but it was the court owned by like the community. And everyone who lived on that court put so much money in each year to this fund. And at the end of 10 years, or whatever, then they had enough money to repave it if that was required. I'm just popped into my head. I don't know if that's a solution or not, but something that we could require language. And you have to ask Mr. Burke if we could actually do that. Of course, he left, but I have a question for him. But anyway, something like that in the language, because the common use driveway is used a lot, and I don't think we could eliminate it. But if it was spelled out at the beginning, everyone understands exactly what's required, what's put in there. It's fine, because another thing that happens is people move in, they're in the house for the first 5 years, then they move out. Someone else moves in, and it's got to be fixed. I've only been here 2 years.
Right.
I'd like to see it to deter the use of them, number one, and secondly, if they are used, that language goes in somehow in there. So
we really didn't need you, Mr. Burke.
Yeah. There are specifics.
You were needed on that one, buddy.
No, for sitting on planning and zoning for the last couple of years, this came up a lot, and there is specific language regarding common driveways, and what we've come up with have been developing exceptions to those rules, which can cause some problems. But it talks about where there needs to be not roundabouts, but pull off areas to allow for traffic to go back and forth. The lengths of use of common driveways. So it's very specific language. The challenge is to stick to the rules that we put in place and not continue to create exceptions to those rules, because those rules are there for a reason. And as time moves on, that's where I think we can find ourselves in trouble. But Tim, is there language that we can put in, into place when we talk about use of common driveways that mandate those that are on that common driveway to put in for maintenance of that common driveway?
These are private agreements that start with the developer, and the developer is to get everybody who lives on this driveway to sign this agreement, where they agree to maintain or contribute to the maintenance of their driveway, just like you maintain your own driveway. The county has no involvement in enforcing those agreements. Those are between the property owners or their successor purchasers.
So could we require certain language to go into the agreement as a county?
I'm suggesting we stay far away from these agreements. There are hundreds of them, and the more involvement the county gets, the more calls you're going to get asking us to pave these driveways.
So basically, we want to be as I won't say as minimalist as possible when it comes to these common driveways, and they have to have certain standards for safety, and that's really what it comes down to. Everything else is between the landowners.
Yes,
but can it be? Is it in the deed that these have to be maintained by them? Is there?
Yeah, there's a covenant that the property owners sign, which is recorded over in land records, saying that they agree to contribute to the maintenance of
what about that house is sold 3 times, so it needs maintenance now?
Well, they buy a title insurance when they buy their house, and that's going to show up as a recorded document that subjects them
over at circuit
court.
The
best use would be to eliminate the use of
You do need, the only oversight the county has over them is we can, if there's a situation where they're no longer able to support public safety vehicles, the county can intervene. But the fact that it's bumpy and needs paved and things like that is not the county's concern.
That's their business. And the other thing I've seen lately is these common driveways are putting up these no trespassing signs at the front of the common driveways. And some of them are trailheads, especially around Piney, and which is frustrating for me because it's a way I used to get onto Piney. Now, all of a sudden, in the last few months, there's a no trespassing. Now, I can ask the landowners, hey, do you mind, and make an agreement between me as a, as a neighbor, and they're not going to have a problem with that. It's the additional vehicles that are parking at the end of the road to use the trailheads, and it becomes very congested. And we had the same conversation off of what's the park? 32. Shoot, Deer Park. Park? Yeah, it was Deer Park. Remember, we were talking about common driveways, and people were getting all frustrated about the congestion. That's right, it was Deer Park. Thanks. So, yeah, I agree. We want to stay as far away from, common driveway, limitations, and just say safety first, and that's it.
We have them. As part of our planning process, they put them through.
If my neighbor's not maintaining the driveway like he's supposed to, I can sue my neighbor. That's what the covenant says, to get compliance with the covenants.
Builds for good community support.
How is that any worse than reporting to the county and the county somehow going after that person? Not to be flippant, but
just make a cake. I wish planning and zoning would just try to get rid of them as much as possible in future developments. We can't go back to.
We do. We planning and zoning. I'll say deters. There's very few things we talk about in planning and zoning, saying this is the requirements, and you meet the requirements. Okay, what we've gone into have been creating exceptions, and we've got to minimize that part of it. There's standards, and they have to do with the ability for traffic to go back and forth, the ability for emergency vehicles to go into the area for, the importance of a emergency vehicle going in. But what I've seen is these exceptions, and it's kind of like two people buying the boat. You don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So, but that's between them. That's between the neighbors. We really do try to stay away from it. Okay. What else for open admin? Any other thoughts?
Two agendas.
Okay. So on May 3rd, next week, we are in May. We have nothing scheduled for May 3rd. We have a chamber breakfast, which will be virtual with Commissioner Wance, and we will all be listening with bated breath on what he has to share.
Can't wait.
On Wednesday, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, we have a Board of Education work session. Commissioner Weaver will be attending at 4 p.m. and at 6 p.m. Commissioner Wance will be attending the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. On Thursday, we have open session starting at 9 a.m. We'll start, of course, with our priority carol. We will go into request approval for fiscal year 22 Maryland Criminal MCIN, Maryland Criminal Intelligence Network grant application. That is a great program that I've been watching over the last couple of years, MCIN. Request approval to submit the fiscal year 22 Homeless Solution Program, HSP, and then accept the award if granted. Request approval to submit FY21 Emergency Housing Program. Request approval of Maryland Community Health and Resources Commission 2021 Relief Act for our Senior Inclusion Program. Will be a request for approval of expanding access to COVID-19 vaccines via Aging Networks Network Grant. Interesting. Request approval to use a term contract for pavement condition surveys from our DPW folks. Also from DPW, request approval to use a term contract for structure condition inspections. They'll still be on our DPW. How about 21 bid approval for 2021 hot mix asphalt paving? Let's see. We will then have our discussion about state directives and updates, if there are any at that point. Go into a public hearing on the 911 fee adjustment. Yep. Let's see. Then we will go into close for public safety and close for some legal advice. I always look for legal advice from our one and only Mr. Burke. On Friday, the 7th, we will have Battle of the Books, virtual meeting. Commissioner Wance will be attending. Is that the Battle of the Books happening, or? I don't know.
That's the first I've heard.
That's the first I've heard of that. So
the annual event, yeah, I think it's been a year. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, but
if it is,
usually we all get it on our
attend.
calendars, and I haven't heard anything about it.
I don't know.
If
So
it's virtual, so
well, it says virtual. Yes, but if it's happening,
could be a
I think we all would like to attend, or we, if available, we'd like to attend. So
Yeah, and if
we'll
they-
check on that.
Right.
So-
Yeah, let's check on that. Because if they're doing it in
Yeah.
different areas, like they've done in the
Right.
past, yeah.
Yep.
Like
And
to
then
do
I'll
that.
give something for Commissioner Fisher to talk about on his podcast on Sunday the 9th.
Since you mentioned that, I will be mentioning on my podcast the budget and how we went about it and my reasons for not voting for it. I just don't want to catch anybody unaware. I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but I am going to talk about that.
Oh, absolutely.
We appreciate you not throwing us under the bus.
Except for Weaver.
Okay.
Weaver's getting run
Hold on.
over 16 times. But
Ed, just hang on for 2 minutes and we're going to throw it over to you. I'm just going through the last week of agendas. Monday the 10th, we have a Transit Advisory Council meeting. Commissioner Frazier will be attending. Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Tuesday evening again at 7 p.m. FY22 budget public hearing where all of us will be attending. It will be virtual.
Where will we be? Is this?
where do you guys want to be? You want to be in here for that?
I expect we'll be in here.
yeah, I would like to be here.
Yeah.
5 p.m. Carroll County Board of Education meeting, Commissioner Weaver. Looking forward to attending that on Thursday, May 13th. We do have open session starting at 9 a.m. And we have a few things, I imagine, on open session. Public hearing, introduction request to proceed to public hearing dealing with the water and sewer spring amendment. And that's it for now, but I'm sure that's going to definitely fill up. On Friday, May 14th, Certified Home Remodelers Incorporated grand opening up in Westminster, and Commissioner Weaver and Commissioner Frazier will be attending. And on Sunday podcast, Commissioner Boucher will be delivering at Sunday morning. Okay, is there any additions or comments on, we'll follow up on the Battle of the Books. Anything else I missed? Okay. Mr. Singer.
This conference will now be recorded.
Mr. Singer, I appreciate you being flexible and getting on, and I think you have the latest and greatest for us. So,
well, and commissioners, we've been asking for months for coordination at the state level on our vaccination efforts, and there's finally some of that going on, and I didn't want to miss the opportunity to be on that call, so I'm sorry that had to inconvenience you a bit this morning. Do want to say the governor had a press conference yesterday afternoon, and I think you all, I don't know if you all talked about this at all or not, but the mask requirement for outdoors is essentially being lifted, and the requirements for outdoor dining those restrictions are being lifted as well. Honestly, I think it's a good thing. I had a discussion with a reporter yesterday. We've not seen a lot of outbreaks outside. We know ventilation seems to be the key in the prevention of the spread of this virus. And one of the things I know that there's been emphasis on is trying to increase airflow in indoor areas, but outdoors we've not seen a significant number of outbreaks, and if they are, they've been very small. So the risk outside, especially with people being vaccinated, we knew we were going to get to this point at some point in time, is lower. And glad to see that we're moving in the right direction. I've been talking for a while about how we all want to get back closer to normal, and this is the first step in that direction. And there's still a requirement for venues where there's sporting events and concerts and things of that nature. So if you go to a high school sporting event and it's in the stadium, people are still going to be required to wear masks. at concerts and at professional athletic events and things of that nature at this point in time under the current governor's order. But it does recognize that we're making progress. And some of the statistics that I'm going to share with you today talk about some of that progress. And we're starting to see our numbers trend in a good direction. And there are a number of things that I have on my mind that I want to talk about this morning that I think would be good for discussion and for people to hear. So I need to share my, oops, trying to, I'm clicking on this and okay, there we go. It's, sorry, it would seem like it was just lagging a bit. So, you know, it's interesting. Nationally, I'm hearing reports that the trends are still not good nationally, but here locally, we were in this third wave, and we saw the case numbers going up, and this is the ones with the school metrics on it. So we've gone from a total cases per 100,000, where back in February we're down. At 61, we're down at 87.2, and those still seem to be trending downward. I know we saw a little bit of an uptick one day this week, but you know, we're now in the substantial risk of transmission, and if the trend continues, we'll see that we'll be getting into a better risk of transmission from a total case rate thing. And our positivity rate bounced up a little bit this week. I always, you know, that's based on how many people get tested. So I always think the cases per 100,000 is really, to me, is more critical than the positivity rate. And I've been saying that throughout this pandemic. Here's our cases, and you know, you see the roller coaster ride we've been on. We're down to less than 200 cases this past week in Carroll County, which is a good sign. And we're hoping to see that trend continue downward and get back to close to where we were last summer, or even lower than that, as people continue to get vaccinated and outdoor activities become more and more prominent. There's a 14-day rolling average. This is the chart that I wanted to talk about kind of the most, because our you know, our uptake of vaccines has been very good in our populations that are people who are older, because they realize the risk. They've seen a lot of friends hospitalized, and a lot of friends that have died from COVID. So the people who are over 65, and even those people in that age 45 to 64 age range are really seeking to get vaccinated, and we've gotten a large percentage of that population vaccinated. And if you take a look at what happened this week, there's been a sharp drop-off in the number of cases with everybody who's over the age of 45, and I would attribute that to a large number of those people being vaccinated. We were relatively flat in the 30 to 44-year-old age group. As I was saying, with the 45 to 64-year-old age group, we've seen a drop-off of about 30 cases in the last week when you're looking at a weekly basis, and we've seen over 20 fewer cases in that 65 plus age group. The 30 to 44-year-old age group has remained relatively flat this week. It's dipped a little bit. However, we've seen an uptick in cases in those that are under the age of 18 and 18 to 29. And that's the population we really want to focus on, encouraging to get vaccinated at this point in time, so that we can slow this transmission and potentially get down to where we have no or little transmission going on in the county. And it's obviously, if you look at those older age groups, it's I think vaccination has had a huge impact, and we'll have to see what the trends are over the next few weeks, but it's very encouraging to me to see that sharp decline this week that we're seeing in those age groups. Our hospitalizations, right now there are roughly in the low 20s people hospitalized for COVID. I got to get that word to come out of my mouth more clearly. In Carroll Hospital Center, and you know, as I always tell you all, we'll continue to see hospitalizations and deaths lag the case numbers. So we expect those to come down over the next few weeks, but the hospitalizations are usually 2 weeks behind the usually 2 weeks behind the cases, and then deaths usually are about 2 to 3 weeks behind the case numbers. So as those case numbers trend down, we'd expect to see hospitalizations and the death numbers to trend down as well. Our hospitalizations and death by age groups. We did have one community death last week. We're probably going to see a few more deaths from COVID over the next couple of weeks, just because they are lagging the cases, and hopefully we'll get back to the point where the deaths that we're seeing on a weekly basis are rare, as opposed to a regular thing as the case numbers come down. Our testing, as you know, our testing site, and I'm probably going to take this slide out next week. Our testing's coming to an end in May, and they've done an outstanding job out there, and really want to recognize all the volunteers and everybody that's been working there to provide testing to our community when it's been needed. Testing's still needed, but it's very readily available commercially and through doctors' offices and things of that nature at this point. Everybody's eligible to be vaccinated. The vaccine supply at this point is, we got an extra 600 doses last week to do a focus clinic at St. John's Church, and that went very well. We did a lot of good work with walk-ups and encouraging people who had limited English proficiency to get vaccinated. That was a very positive experience last week as far as trying to reach some of those difficult to reach populations. But vaccine is not the limiting factor at this point in time. The big factor for us is trying to make sure that people who are eligible and are sitting on the fence, we need to encourage them and be ambassadors to encourage people to get vaccinated so that we can bring this pandemic to an end and get back to our normal lives. This chart here, it shows the people in Carroll County that are vaccinated by week, and we've seen this line continue to climb, and I'm hoping that we can keep this line climbing as we reach out to people and encourage them to get vaccinated and continue our vaccination efforts and just encouraging people in the community to get vaccinated. I'm hoping it doesn't flatten out. We've got enough vaccine supply that just about anybody that would want to be vaccinated at this point could get vaccinated here in Carroll County in a very short amount of time. So again, we're really want to see people get out and take advantage of this opportunity. And this is just our chart where we're showing different populations that have been vaccinated by the health department and in general. Percent of people vaccinated in the age 65 plus group. We vaccinated 84% of people in the 65 plus age group at this point in time. That means there's about 4,500 people out there in Carroll County that are over 65 that have not been vaccinated. And we've been seeing these people trickle in a little bit at a time as their family members talk to them about the importance of being vaccinated and, you know, being able to get back and hug their grandkids and feel safe about it, these kind of things. And we're seeing those last people that have been vaccine hesitant starting to trickle in, but we'll never get to 100%. I'm very happy that we're at 84%. I'd like to see us up around 90 or 95%. And we're going to keep pushing to do this. I know I talked to Saline and Citizen Services. They're going to help us some by trying to make some additional phone calls and try to reach out to people who are over 65 to encourage them to get vaccinated. We've been doing this for months, and it's been quite a Herculean effort on the part of our call center to try to make sure we prioritize people in the 65 plus age group since they're most vulnerable to get vaccinated. But made a lot of progress here. We're at 84% with those that are over 65, and we're hoping to raise that higher. Those that are over 75, we're at 87%. So we can get there. This graph shows something that's the first graph I showed you that showed that 40, I think it was in the mid 40s of population that have been vaccinated. This graph gives you a little better perspective of the eligible population that's been vaccinated. We couldn't get, and we're working on trying to get the numbers of the 16 and up, but 56% of our population who are over the age of 20 have been vaccinated at this point in time. And So that's a little bit different than the other graph you were looking at. There is a part of the population that is not eligible for vaccination at this point, so they're not included in this percentage number. I do anticipate that at some point in time, it's likely that over the summer that Pfizer is going to be recommended for those that are 12 and up. They're working on that now, and then we'll be talking about how we try to vaccinate some of our people who are in their adolescence and working with the school system and whatnot on that. Scheduled clinics. We're getting to the point now, and I talked to the state about this because they keep trying to push for mobile vaccination clinics where our remote clinics, we went to Mount Airy yesterday and we were only able to vaccinate about 150 people there. Most of our clinics were targeting for 600 or more people. And now what we're finding is going to remote locations, it's more difficult to get populations to come out to those locations than it is to run a centralized clinic and bring them to us. So we're going to be focusing on the town mall and running clinics at different hours so that it suits people who are working during the day so that they're able to come out and get vaccinated, whether they're in school or whether they're working at hours that are convenient to them. So the Westminster Town Center in the old Sears is going to be our primary location as the senior centers are reopening. The St. John's Hispanic Clinic that I mentioned, that went very well. Last Sunday, we vaccinated a lot of people. There was a lot of word of mouth. We are taking walk-ups now. We don't want to turn anybody away. However, we're encouraging people to still go to our website and register for our clinics. It just makes it easier for us to serve people in an organized manner. If we're having to register people as they walk up, that takes more time, may create lines, and may create delays in people getting vaccinated. If you register in advance, we can have you in and out of there within 20 to 25 minutes. With 15 minutes of that is just sitting and being observed to make sure you don't have any adverse reactions. So we're encouraging people to register in advance. However, if you happen to be at Town Mall, when we're having one of our clinics, we'll let you walk up, we'll let you register, we'll let you get vaccinated. We want to do everything we can to get as much of our population vaccinated so that we can make more progress as the governor lifted the outdoor mask requirements, that we can make more progress to trying to get back closer to normal. And this is the reason we need to get vaccinated for all of us is to get these case numbers down. We have a clinic scheduled in Tawnytown next week. It's not very full. So that may be our last, other than second doses, that may be one of the last remote clinics that we're going to run. And then we're going to centralize things at the Westminster Town Center, and we'll work on transporting people to us. The problem is if you've only got 6, 8, 10, 20 people that are in an area that want to be vaccinated, it's really hard to stand up a mass vaccination site and run those remotely. So we've done a great job, and there's actually a map that shows our geographic distribution of a vaccine. We don't have any spots in Carroll County where there's not been fairly good uptake of the vaccine. The lowest area has been Tawnytown, and that's why we're back there again next week. But a lot of that just has to do with whether people are willing to get vaccinated or not, and not because they haven't been given the opportunity. Our information on our website is that's the best place to come and find information out about that. There's a lot of vaccine available through the local pharmacies. One of the things that I did not mention, I want to back up a couple of slides, is the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. We do have a clinic next Friday. Some people really want the Johnson & Johnson vaccine because it's one shot, and we're going to see how the clinic we have next Friday goes. But we have a clinic next Friday, May the 7th, which will be using the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. And it's very clear whenever you register for any of our clinics which vaccine we're using. We've heard about the blood clots related to Johnson & Johnson. CDC and all the professionals out there feel that there is far less risk of this rare blood clot happening than the risk of COVID if people are not vaccinated. However, it's really only got to do with people who are of childbearing age, those that are 18 to age 50 that are women. So we would recommend that if people are concerned about getting the Johnson & Johnson or whether they should get that or another vaccine, they should talk to their doctor about that. But for people who want the Johnson & Johnson, we are having a clinic next Friday, May the 7th, where we'll be offering that vaccine. And those people who specifically want that vaccine should look for that clinic. And if if there's a demand for it, we'll look at getting more of the Johnson & Johnson and offering additional clinics for that. And if there's not, we're going to stick with the Moderna that we've been using. That's the 2-dose regimen. That's all I have, and we'll be glad to answer any questions that you all have as commissioners at this point in time.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's get.
If I may, thank you, Mr. Singer. I must admit, when I asked that you start coming on board, giving these presentations a year ago, I didn't think it'd be this long. And you've been the calm in the storm for us and very informative to the public, so thank you. I'm curious as to what percentage of our population has been infected, and if we add that to the percentage of the population that is inoculated, what does that potentially bring us up to for a herd immunity rate? Is that a legitimate concern? Is that something we should look at?
Well, and I'll say, Commissioner, the number of people that have actually had COVID, and there's still we're still only saying people are only safe because people have been reinfected that have come down with COVID, and I would still highly encourage anybody that's had COVID to get vaccinated. We've seen cases of people who've previously had COVID being reinfected with the disease, so I think you could consider that. It is a relatively small portion of the population when you look at people who were infected, but I think the real thing is and we've had a lot of people who've already had COVID and said, I don't want to have that again, and they've gotten vaccinated. You're good for about 3 months. We know that from a scientific standpoint, they've seen that you're safe from being reinfected for a 3-month period, but there is a potential for people to get reinfected if they've already had COVID. So we need to encourage those people to get vaccinated just as well as everybody else to help stop the spread of this disease. So I don't think it makes a significant difference adding in those numbers. And I do think that those people who have had COVID should also get vaccinated. And a lot of people who have had COVID, I've talked to quite a number of people at our vaccine clinics have gotten vaccinated. So I think really what we need to be looking at is our percentage vaccinated with our herd immunity thing that you're talking about. And we're, as I was showing you, we're at above 50% of our eligible population that are vaccinated. I really think we need to get to that 70 or 80% range. And we need to, as I told all my staff yesterday, we had a conversation. I said, I need you guys to be good ambassadors and help people look at the scientific data about this being a safe and effective vaccine and try to encourage people to be vaccinated. We're not, I don't want to be the person that's telling somebody you have to get vaccinated, and that may be coming, if the vaccine eventually gets approved as a regular vaccine, some employers may be requiring it. I know they're requiring it to go back to certain colleges and things of that nature. But right now, we just want to encourage people to look at the facts and make an educated decision, because if we as a community are going to get back to normal, and I know everybody would like to not be wearing masks inside, and they'd not like not to be wearing masks for the Ravens game when we go to the Ravens games in the fall, we really need to, as a community, do our civic duty and try to protect each other by getting vaccinated. And any of the diseases that we've eradicated in the past, it's because we've had a very large percentage of the population vaccinated. And I know there are people that are concerned about the vaccine and afraid about the vaccine, but as more and more people have gotten vaccinated and they've talked to their neighbors about it and things of that nature, that's why we're still seeing some of those people that are over 65. It's not that we haven't offered them the opportunity. It's just that they've been a little bit hesitant. And now that they're starting to see their friends and neighbors and getting more comfortable with it and knowing that they can get back with their grandkids and not be at risk and that type of things, we're still seeing people trickle in. So it's all about being good ambassadors and talking to people about why it's good for us and why it's good for the community and the scientific data that's out there about why it's safe and why it's effective. So thanks for bringing that up.
I think that was an absolutely wonderful explanation. And I think all the hard work you and staff have put out there in our community, we're going to start seeing the numbers fall out of the bottom on this. And as always, I try to point out the positives. And I think your chart showed that there's been no facility-related fatalities in 3 weeks. That's phenomenal. And that's a direct result of all your work. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I think just to segue on that, I agree. Leaders lead. And, the questions I was asking was, how can we help? And you're answering it, Ed, and that is convincing others to take the vaccine, convincing our neighbors and our community and our friends to be vaccinated, ensuring that our friends and neighbors continue to stick to the rules. Again, the mandates of masks have come down. We're going in the right direction, but if we stick to the rules by wearing the masks appropriately, staying distance, washing our hands, doing the right things, we're moving in the right direction. So I absolutely agree with what you had said, and Commissioner Boucher shared. We lead by example, and convincing others to do what's right, convincing to get vaccinated, convincing others to keep protection. With the masks as a courtesy, but also as a responsibility. I think the addition I just want to say is the senior centers, they're going to open tomorrow. And, I know Commissioner Frazier and I will be attending tomorrow morning. I don't want to say I expect. I don't know if you're going to be there or not. But that may be a targeted opportunity for us to continue to share the importance of getting vaccinated and they continue to share the importance of wearing the mask, because you're right. The more we wear the mask, the sooner we won't have to wear the mask, is the way is the direction we're going. How else can we help from the Board of Commissioners and from leaders in the community? What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, Commissioner, because what I would ask you guys, if you've been vaccinated and if you'd like to be part of our media campaign to encourage people to get vaccinated, just a picture of you with a little blurb of why you got vaccinated and why you think it's important for the community. As leaders, we're trying to do a media campaign to talk about why this is important for the community. If you've been vaccinated, you want to share just share a personal note as to why you think it's important, that would be helpful. I think people hearing from people. I could sit up here and talk all day long, and if people don't know me and they don't trust me, they don't know they don't know whether getting vaccinated is right for them. But if we have community leaders stepping up, talking about why they got vaccinated and why it's important, we'd be glad that we would love to have you participate. Maggie Kuntz is running that effort for us, and we can if you're interested, just shoot me or her an email, and we'll get you on our media campaign and have you. We're looking for, as Maggie calls it, vaccine champions, people who there's a lady, and I'll mention her name here, who really helped me with reaching out to a lot of the people in the African American community. Her name's Precious Morrison. She's very involved with the Robert Moten group over here, right by the health department. But I know her from my childhood, and having her reach out to her friends and talk about why she got vaccinated, I really think helped us with our minority community here in Carroll County. And it's all about, having the people who are trusted in the community and people know, talking about why this is important for us. So you guys could surely support us by participating in that campaign and just encouraging everybody out there in the community, encouraging your neighbors, encouraging your relatives who might be at risk to get vaccinated is very helpful to us right now. We were struggling to have enough vaccine to vaccinate all the people who we wanted to vaccinate early on in this campaign, and we really couldn't get to everybody, and people were upset with us because we just didn't have enough vaccine. Now we're at the point where we need to encourage those people who are sitting on the fence that could help us get to this herd immunity to get back to more normal to get vaccinated, and that's where we are.
Okay, that sounds like a task to all of us as leaders. And I know Chris Weinbrenner reached out to me as well, and I know she's talking to Maggie, and Chris Swam and Chris Weinbrenner can help us package that from where we are and help get that to you. So that's a good task for us to move forward with. Anything else you want to share?
Mr. Singer, I just want to say thanks for those last comments, because leadership doesn't necessarily come strictly from the public sector. It comes from the individuals out there. Everyone's an individual, such as the woman Precious, I think you just mentioned. They're all leaders, and we got leaders throughout our community that are helping out with your efforts. So thanks.
And I don't have anything to add, Commissioners. Thanks for your support throughout this pandemic. And, you know, in a couple of months, if this is behind us and we can all breathe a little easier over here at the Health Department and take some burden off of your staff that have been supporting us so wonderfully, I'll be a lot happier.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I need a motion to recess until 2 p.m. and we'll go into a joint session with the delegation.
So moved.
I got a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.